Hello viewers, my name is Kaylee. Welcome into my studio. Today I'm going to show you how to paint a wet on wet oil painting. I'm going to show you my palette and hopefully you'll be able to see this throughout the painting today. I'm trying kind of a new setup. We'll see how it works. For our paints today we have titanium white, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, bright red, alizarin crimson, sap green, Prussian blue, and midnight black. And I'm actually going to add one more color to that, a dark sienna. Alright, grab your paints and let's hop right into it. First things first, we start with liquid white on the entire canvas, a very thin, even coat. I'm going to speed through this for you so you don't have to watch it. Alright, I've applied my liquid white onto the canvas. It's nice and thin, even, and we're going to get started with our painting. As far as supplies today, I have two 2-inch brushes, one 1-inch brush, a number 4 fan brush, and my script liner, and then any knife. I really like the small knife, but whichever knife you're most comfortable with, just grab that. Okay, we're going to start off with the sky, going right into our Prussian blue, tapping that into the brush. Get a good little bit in the 2-inch brush for you. I really like to tap it and go right across the top. I'm using long strokes here just to give a different effect. You can do a kind of a smoother sky. If you want to do more of an X pattern, it'll soften those lines out. These are trying to get these kind of long movements in the sky. You know, those long clouds that you might see kind of dancing around in the sky a little bit. Just some movement. Makes it more interesting. All right, a little bit more of the Prussian blue and a tiny bit of midnight black. A little more midnight black. Just want to touch in there. Make this corner a little bit darker, a little moodier. Wiggle that color in, some movement. And then I'm going to take that brush, put in some color down on the corner here, because we have a plan for this later. Whatever we have left of the Prussian blue, midnight black, and we'll go ahead and darken up this corner as well. Really get the paint in there. We really want to give the effect of depth, and to do that we need the dark. Start from the outside and move in. Okay, I'll come in here and grab some alizarin crimson right into the same bit of that dirty brush. A little more crimson. We're going for a little bit of a violet color. Lavendery, whatever you want to call it. A little more red. Alizarin crimson. Just dance that color in here. Little in here. I'm going to take a nice clean blending brush here and just work these two together. Starting in the crimson down here and moving up. Just kind of soften this out until it's just the way we like it. I don't want to get too mixed up just yet while I'm softening this pink to keep it nice and fresh in this area. And turning the brush sideways, we'll just work these two into a nice, soft, get rid of some of those harsh brush strokes. And blend the rest of this out. Just going to soften some of this down at the bottom. I'm grabbing a lot of this liquid white and blending it up, so we're getting kind of a mixture of the color, a little bit of a gray on the bit of the horizon here, which is what we want. Just get that. And we'll call that good enough for right now. Okay. Next, we're going to take that same brush we were just using to blend and go right into the titanium white, give it a tap it in, flip it over, get some on the other side, and I'm going to drag it through just to get it nice and paint loaded at the tip here. We're just going to tap in some clouds right in the middle here. Just some back and forth movement. We'll load it back up, same way, get a good bit of paint on both sides, tapping it into that thick titanium white. We already have color on the canvas and color on the brush, so they're going to blend. And just tap in some clouds. A little more paint. I think we need some up here. That's about good. Clean off my brush real quick. Just going to go right into a shirt, old t-shirt here that I've cut up. Just kind of beat down some of that titanium white that we put in the brush. And then we'll go ahead and come up here and blend. We'll blend out the bottoms. I'm just kind of grabbing them and pulling them from side to side on the base, allowing that bottom of the cloud to blend out, but keeping the top nice and crisp. Nice, and I'm just going to pull those down in one direction, very lightly, lift them up, go across again. All right, move into these other ones here. Same thing, just soften down the bottoms so there's not so much paint when you lift them up. I'm going to just tap out some of these ones. I'm going to wipe off my brush. Pull that across, lift it up. And pull that down across again. Nice and soft. All right, where were we? Next step. Just gonna clean off this brush and set it aside for now and wipe off my palette just to make sure I've got plenty of room to work. There we go. Grab my knife and we're gonna make some mountains. So let's grab some titanium white, put that in a pile. I want some midnight black, Prussian blue, and alizarin crimson. We will mix those real loosely. A little more red, a little more black. More white over here. Gonna grab some of that paint and move it over. Now I'm gonna grab more of all of those colors and just marble those together. Okay? Wipe off the knife. Let's make some mountains. You know, I'm thinking we've got a little bit too, I want this a little more blue. So I'm just gonna put in a little bit more blue. There we go. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Cool. There we go. Now, we're gonna put a mountain way out here in the distance. So we're gonna grab this lighter blue color that we made. Get a little roll on your knife. I hope you can see that. And let's come up here and put in kind of a distant mountain. We're just putting in just an idea of what we want that mountain to look like. Really focusing on this top portion here where we have the paint most important part. Right up at the top, really pushing the knife into the canvas to get that paint into that canvas so that mountain will show up. Once we get that, put the knife down and pick up your brush and just tap at the base of the mountain in the direction that the mountain is going to be moving. So we're kind of working in, this is like a half circle here, with the brush always pointing up towards the point of the mountain. See that? How we're just moving it around? Brush off some of that paint we just picked up, and now we're lifting, again, in that same direction, always towards the points. Lift the mountain. We're gonna get out those brush strokes we just put in at the bottom. Soften it out. Real nice, so it's kind of misty. I'm gonna do that one more time. Tapping a little bit harder now so it blends even more. Lift. Okay, now we'll pick up our knife again. Into our light color, we're going to mix more titanium white. This is just our mountain base color. So now we have our shadow color. Grab a little bit of that, more titanium white, and into the bright red, and a tiny bit of Van Dyke Brown. That was way too much Van Dyke Brown. That's okay though. A little more mountain base color. Nice. We want to leave it a little bit marbled. We'll go up here. Now we need to decide where let's grab our highlight color and head up. Put on some highlights on this mountain. Grabbing just the touch of that paint is gonna drag, and you just barely, the knife isn't really touching the palette. It's just the paint that's on the knife, and it just pulls right off. I'm holding my palette knife so lightly I could almost drop it. See, I almost did drop it. Now I'm just picking out some high points where I think the sun is going to be hitting, and we'll just start with a few here. Now, working in the opposite, we'll grab some of those highlights with the back of the knife and pull them down, just to give an idea of what the shape of this mountain is going to look like. We're pulling down in the opposite direction of the highlights. Nice. Now we have a little bit of an idea of what our mountain is going to look like. We'll grab some more highlight. Actually, let's do our shadows first, now that we put them in. We'll grab a little bit of the shadow color, which was that lighter blue, and we're pulling down in this opposite direction. We're picking up just that little roll of paint on the end, scraping it off. And behind every highlight, there should be a shadow, but if you miss them, that's okay. We're just trying to have fun. I'm just showing you how to put a full painting together and have a good time with your imagination and creation. Just have fun. Back into my highlight color, and I'm really gonna pull these out here now. And if you get a little bit of movement in there, that's even better. Now remember, this one is going to be further back, this mountain, so lighter is better. Clean off my knife. Grab a little bit of our mountain base color, go into our shadow color. We're going just a touch darker now on some of these peaks to kind of pull them out just a tiny bit more and give that effect of depth back there. Blue is a good color for shadows. All right. Now I'm going to pick up my blending brush that I was using, just tapping at the base of this mountain we just put in, just like we were before. We're tapping out some of the base to create a little bit of mist, a little bit of wonder, a little kind of makes you think, what's over there? How steep are those mountains? Do you think I could climb up that? I don't know. Looks pretty big. We'll see. Now we're just going up, pulling that brush up in the right direction towards the peaks to get out the brush strokes. Once again, blend out the base. Right now we're picking up some of that liquid white still. Let's pull that up, really lighten up the base of this mountain so it really disappears out there. Lift, so soft. There we go. All right, I'm gonna take my fan brush, go into some titanium white, a little bit of that mountain base color, and we're just gonna swirl around some clouds in here. We're kind of working in more of a horizontal pattern here. I'm thinking these clouds are running along the base in through a big meadow, so to speak, of mountains and valleys and peaks and highs and lows. It's just a lot of unknown in this area right now as the clouds are rolling in, maybe threatening a little bit of a storm. We're just not sure what's going on in here, but it's interesting. Just let whatever comes off on the brush come off. We'll lift those up just a little bit, give them a little brush through. It just softens up those brush strokes so they look a little bit more misty, a little more distant. Kind of pull them out as if the wind is really moving through here. There we go. Now let's take our mountain color. We're gonna mix these, kind of just get this big mess out of the way. And we're gonna move into our slightly darker color. I'm gonna darken it even more with more midnight black and Prussian blue. Marble that into our paints. Pick up a little roll and head up to your canvas. Now I'm just trying to pick out my composition here. I do have a little sketch. If I remember to add that into the video to show you, I will. But I'm just going to try and see if I can get close to what I was planning. Let's see. We're just putting in the top, really getting the paint pushed in with the knife, and then we're scraping off the excess on the bottom. We don't need all that paint up there. We just really want it in the top. Make sure that it's really showing the shape of that mountain. All right, picking up a little bit more paint. Just keep working on this second range of mountains in here. Don't get too crazy. You can make it different at home. I'm just gonna kind of try and get this up here, and if you want to do something a little bit different, you should. Sometimes when I'm painting, I'll put on some music and, you know, look at a photo and try and do my best version of a photo. And I listen to music pretty loud and I zone out, and we'll be painting for like 3 to 4 hours sometimes. But when I'm doing these tutorials, I'm trying to go a little bit quicker so that it's easier for you to digest when you're watching it, and then you can put it back on and pause it later while you pick up your brushes and paints and try and do it yourself at home. Right now, I'm just tapping out the base of this mountain that we just put in, and then we're gonna lift it up in the direction of that mountain. Gonna kind of shape it out here. Get some of that paint off and lift. Lift. Get out these brush strokes. All right. Now before we do anything else, let's put in a few more clouds over here. I'm going to pick up some titanium white and a little bit more of a muddy color. A little blue, a little bit of that mountain base color. We're going to pick up some colors and move some colors. We just want to get in a few more bits over here to add some interest before we get this mountain layer put in. Soften that out. There we go. I'm going to take my blending brush real quick. Just soften, lift, blend, Nice. Now we're remembering which side is our highlight, which is our shadow. We have our highlights on this right. The sun is coming in from the right somewhere. Excuse me, I'm trying to eat and paint and talk. Too many things at once. Okay, I'm cleaning up my highlight color here and pulling it out because we want it in a nice flat bit. It's easier to get it on the palette knife. My words are struggling with words today. Okay. We're going to cut off a little roll of paint and use our highlight color to put it on the mountain. And now we're going to start from the furthest away and move closer to us. So this is the mountain I've chosen to be furthest away. We're going to start on our highlight side of our farthest mountain and put in the highlights. They don't have to be perfect. We're just putting in a little bit of an idea of where this mountain is going to be, starting at your peaks, somewhat obviously, but let's hit this one. It's further back, I think. Let's do some of these. And just thinking about where the sun might be hitting as it's like poking through the clouds. We've got a little storm rolling in. It's just swirling. The mountains are just out here doing their thing, being mountains. All right, we've got our highlight on. We're going to come up here and drag out some of these highlights into the shadow side to get more of an idea of what we want our mountain to look like. We're just pulling out kind of in the opposite direction to see if we can get these two to come together a little and get a little shape. Got some movement. Okay. I think we need just a little bit over here. I know on this piece here, thinking that we'll work that up there a little bit more. And with our highlight, we're going to go right back into highlighting here again, just to pull out a little bit more of the shape of this mountain, these peaks. Now as I get closer to the base or the valley of this mountain here, we're going to pull the knife out more flat. A little more here. Just kind of throw a little bit down there as well. All right, let's pick up some titanium white into our dark mixture for the shadows. We're gonna add a little bit more midnight black. A little more, I want it more marbled. Let's add some of our mountain base. That's better. We'll just pick up a little roll of that, and I'll try and make it so you can see. We're just pulling down shadow color. A little roll of paint. Whew. See how lightly I'm holding onto my knife? I sometimes let it go a little bit. I like to switch into the back end of this knife sometimes to put the mountains in. It just gets me a better angle on moving. There we go. Some shadows all working in. We're just grabbing more paint and putting it on. We're always just grabbing the canvas with the paint, not with the knife, when we're doing our highlights and shadows. We're just letting the paint pull off the way that it wants. A little more shadow. And I'm going to grab just a tiny bit more titanium white. And I'm going to go straight into the bright red. And just a little bit of sunshine onto some of these, where it's just really glistening off of maybe some snow, ice. These mountains, they're you know, huge, maybe Swiss Alps or something. Big mountains way back here. I think it's summertime, but there's still snow up here. They're really high and they're just shiny in the sun. Just sparkles some of that. All right, now let's take our brush, blending brush, do the same thing we've been doing, tap out the base in the direction of the mountain, just barely. Lift out those brush strokes. Tap. A little harder now, right at the base. Kind of picked up a little bit here, so I'm just trying to work it in there. And tap, tap. Lift. Get out some of these brush strokes here. Now we're in business. Let's pick up our fan brush. Thick titanium white. It's dirty, it's whatever, we're doing it. We're gonna come in here and put in some more layers to our clouds. Just do one layer at a time. You can put them on top of each other and we'll blend them out between. Got a couple in there. Take your blending brush, get a couple of these. Soften just the base. Will help bring them together. We're just swirling down at the base. We will pull some of these. Tapping and swirling. Now we're going to lift it up, blend it out. A little bit more. We want to get that depth look here, so we'll go up above. There we go. Grab a little bit of mud color, darken that color up, and put in this next layer. Yeah. Kind of swirl that around. Titanium white. We're just working with a couple colors, going back and forth with thick paint and pushing in some clouds. Just working with darks and lights and your fan brush. All right, let's do some blending. Just blending out the base of these clouds, and then I'm going to lift them up. Soften them down. Nice. Now let's grab just a little bit more of our titanium white. Go into our bright red. and liquid white. We got to thin this down a little bit more, and we'll put on just a few highlights. Through this valley here, just make some of those clouds pop. We'll take our blending brush. Let's go ahead and wipe off the blending brush a little bit, and we'll just soften down those highlights just a little bit, blending out just the base, grabbing it and moving it just slightly. We'll lift and blend. All right. I think we're gonna do one more mountain. You could leave this out. I want one right here because I see it there. Just kind of popping out. Kind of just goes to somewhere, I don't know, you don't know, we don't know. It's big mountains, snow. Tapping out the base, lifting up to get out those brush strokes. I don't know if you've picked up on any patterns yet, but there might be a few. Blending and just softening out some of those brush strokes again. Okay, let's grab our knife. Titanium white and our highlight color. We've got a little bit of our mountain base and some bright red in there. We'll just pull out our highlights one more time. I think this mountain's a little more flat. Really just wiggling it around, trying to get some movement. It's not going to be just straight down, so. Right, pull down some of our shadows. And grab actual paint for the shadows. This is our titanium white and blue mixtures. It does have some mountain base color in there as well. We're just gonna grab these shadows and put them in. And once more into our highlight color, we'll just clean up some of these edges. Okay, let's tap out the base of that. Lift it up. Guess what? You know it. More clouds. Now we're just gonna pick out, we need to do a little bit of a darker color. I think I'm gonna get a little bit more pink in this one. More sunshine is hitting this. still, it's kind of like if we're up in the clouds and we're looking down the valley. And in some mornings, if you've ever been up to the mountains, which I hope some of you have, you'll see these clouds just kind of sock you in on the top. So I'm thinking we're at like a meadow, looking down the valley, actually maybe up the valley this time, probably would make more sense. Up the valley. Let's just thin that down, get some more titanium white and pop on some highlights, clean out our brush, and running out of paint. Okay, more white. A little blue. We want to cool this color so that it'll have some contrast. A little more white. And I'm just wiggling that brush and just shaking off that paint. However it wants to come off, it will. And it's going to pick up the colors that we're painting with that are already on the canvas and start blending with them. Makes it easy. You don't have to do all the work. Now you're harmonizing your painting just by painting. So, props. All right, blend, blend, blend. Blending out the bottom of your cloud moving. If you haven't yet, please hit the like button on this video right now. Let me know that you're watching it and that you love it in the comments. Like, subscribe, comment. Thank you. I'm just blending out and kind of combining some of these clouds just to make them real wispy and soft out here. I really want to be able to see that movement in the clouds. You just grab them, grab that paint and move it around. Nice. Okay, clean out that brush just a little bit. Lift up these clouds. Lift. Now I can't tell if the storm is coming in or if it's leaving, but whatever, you use your imagination. I'm gonna add just a little bit of highlight right in here. It's kind of a missing something. Soften it. There we go. Lift. And blend. There we go. Nice. Okay, let's grab our fan brush. The fan brush, kind of clean it off a little bit. And we'll grab some of this mountain color and pick up a little bit of sap green. So that mountain base color was midnight black, Prussian blue, crimson, and now we're adding in sap green. There should still be a little bit of white in that mixture. We don't want this to be a real super dark color. And let's just put in a few kind of distant trees back here. We're just tapping and pulling down. We're focusing on the top part of this. And then let's just kind of clean up the bottom there a little bit. Pick up a little bit more paint, more sap green this time. Over here, same thing. We're just gonna put in a few distant trees. These ones a little bit more green. They're just a little bit lighter. Kind of maybe like the sun is hitting them a little bit. Okay, now pick up your blending brush, and with it facing up, we're going to tap at the base of these trees that we just put in. And I'm tapping real hard. Really want to mist and just keep with this look that we have the rest of the scene. Real misty, kind of stormy. It's been so hot here in Salt Lake. I kind of wanted to just do something that was a little cooler with the storm. I had sort of an idea, but we really are just winging it here. So anyway, ooh-wee. Oh. Okay, now I'm going to pick back up my fan brush. I actually have multiple fan brushes, so I'm going to get a different one going so it's clean. If you want to clean out your brush, you can. If you have another one, pick that up. Titanium white, just a little bit of our mountain blue color. You guessed it. More clouds. Now right now, our fan brush is picking up some of that tree color that we just put in, which is good. We want that. We're working with a thick paint, so they'll blend together, and some of that thicker paint of the titanium white will stick up on the top, which is what we want. Now I'm just using the fan brush, which is a really good blending brush also, just kind of pulling out some of those. I'm going to pick up my actual blending brush, just get a little bit softer on these. All right, we have made it to the bravery test. We're going to pick up all of our dark colors, Dyke Brown, Prussian Blue, Midnight Black, Sap Green, put that into a big old pile, and alizarin crimson, mix that in there too. We want all of the dark colors. Mix it pretty well. We want it a very, very dark color. This is going to be the foreground part of our painting. This is the last part of the painting, sort of. Here we go. Step one, big dark bit, and we need another color. Let's take some of that Dyke Brown and mix that into our dark color here, making it even darker. My goodness. Okay, now grab a little roll of that paint. We're gonna come all the way up here, and we're putting in this big old cliff that just sort of just drops right off. Comes all the way down. It's got a few level spots, but it's mostly just this huge rock. My goodness, there it is. You didn't know it was there. I'm being a little bit more liberal on the paint here. I don't know if you've noticed, but I want some texture in these. Okay, now let's go just on the base a little bit here and tap out the base I do want to soften this out just a little bit. Lift up. All right, now before we continue, we're gonna put in a little bit more interest out here. So we've got some pine trees just down here. Just tapping them, pushing up with the brush. They're small, real simple, not much detail. Let them pop right out of the brush. Maybe just a few more ideas of some. Now I'm gonna pick up my the other fan brush I had going that had some titanium white in it. It's a little bit dirty. I'm just gonna pick up a little bit of our lighter green mixture, add some yellow ochre into it. And now I need a little bit of liquid white. Let's grab that. Don't want it to be too bright, so that's why I'm going into this mountain mixture over here. That'll work. We'll just tap in a couple highlights, just a few, on a couple of these trees. There we go. Nothing little, nothing crazy. And pull in some rocks kind of in front of them. So we really push those trees back into this kind of other little bit over there. All right, now grab some titanium white and some of our big dark mixture there, and add in a little bit of bright red. Whew. That was more than I thought, but we're doing it. And let's pick out some highlights on this mountain. Kind of rock feature here. It's more of a rocky slope, I think. Super rocky bit. I don't think I'd really want to be messing around over here. Few more highlights. We're just dragging them in. We want a lot of texture, so get real loose. Just pull them right out. A few more. Wiggling and giving a good jiggle about. There we go. Now, let's pull down these highlights we just made to kind of make the back side of the little peaks. Just get some angles going here. And we're gonna mix up a shadow color by taking titanium white, that mountain mixture, and some Prussian blue, a little more mountain mixture. Nice. And let's just pull in just a couple shadows where you think they ought to be. Okay. I think this is still quite a bit, further away, but what we're gonna do here now is pull down, create a reflection, and blend across. Now I need a little bit more of this blue color into my shadow. So we got some more Prussian Blue out on the palette there. I want a nice mid-tone here. And this shadow color here as well. I'm going to put some shadows down here at the base that are nice and dark. There we go. Kind of pull that down into the water there. Pull it down, across. Good shadows. Okay, next, moving right along. We've got a surprise. Whoa. Okay, now we've got this big feature over here that I'm gonna kind of work across. We'll do a little more with this in a second. Remember, I said you gotta be brave. Now you know why. And I'm just pulling in this dark color to really set in that contrast. If you have some white, which we do from these clouds, you might need to scrape some off. Scrape off the paint. Really make sure that this dark mixture gets in there. See that? This doesn't quite matter down here. I'm actually going to pick up a bigger palette knife and just put in this color onto the canvas and just scraping it in. No real rhyme or reason. I'm trying to keep a little bit of movement. I'm just going to put it in here. Okay, let's take our big brush and blend some of this paint in. Just gonna make this a little easier for us. Okay. Now, I want to take our highlight color that we were using and add a little bit of titanium white to it. And we're just going to pick out this section up here where we're going to have a little road. I'm trying to look at my sketch that I made, so we'll see. So we're just pulling in some highlight here and moving it down the mountain. Okay, now onto this other side. I'm using my small knife again. I really like this knife. It's my favorite knife to use. It just always works well. And something we're gonna do right before we move on is actually finish up the water on this other side. Taking some titanium white with our Prussian blue, we need to thin it down with liquid white, but not too much. We just want it thinner than it is. Now, cut off that little roll of paint and etch in your water line at the base of this rock feature. I think the water is moving pretty fast down here. In my eyes, that's what I'm seeing. So we're gonna put that movement in, really just swirl it about, get that going. Okay, now pull this mountain rock feature down in front. And we'll just finish up this dark. Down in the bottom. I'm gonna start pulling in some of the direction of these rocks. Try and get a little bit of shape going on here. Okay, now let's take our fan brush into the dark color, and we're gonna put in some trees up here. Real simple, just throw in a few. They never really stand up here on their own. They've always got friends. And they go up this bit here, I don't know, up for a ways. There they go. And then they come back down. Maybe we'll throw one up here in front. Just pushing up, letting them pop out of the brush. Get some fan movement there. Now let's take some highlight color and just dance in a few little movements up here where the sun might be hitting on some of these little rocky areas. Just moving down. Take your brush, tap, blend it out, make it real soft out here. Now we're going to take our fan brushes. We need some sap green. I did not get enough paint out for this today. Highlight color, sap green. I want a nice bright green here. And pop on some highlights to these trees. And we'll go into some yellow ochre, mix in our yellows and greens. Just mix them all in on the fan brush. And we'll tap in a little meadow right up in here. Just a little bit of something. We don't really know. Highlight the rocks. I'm just picking out the highlights where I think they ought to be on these rocks, throwing them in, and we're gonna take that highlight color and just pull across some sandy, rocky, it's kind of hard there. It's a little tough. We've got all these rocks moving around. Just pull them out where you think they are. This is the fun part. Doesn't matter. There's no rules. Just put them in where you think they are. That's where they ought to be. Put in a little bit more grass up in here. Some rocks. All right. Now we need a shadow color on this rock over here. So we're going to take our mountain mixture, titanium white, and Prussian blue. We've got a little bit of that color mixed up over here. Let's just combine it all together. A little more mountain mixture. There we go. Now we'll drop in this shadow mixture onto the back side of the mountain here on this rocky slope. Be sure to get some movement. Pick out a few just areas where you think the shadows will be. And we put in our shadow color. Just kind of wiggle it about. Really want to get that real rocky look. And when you have all these thick paints, they just all stick to each other. And you can get this texture. And it works really well. Okay, now some highlight color. This time we're going to add yellow ochre into our highlight color. Really want to make these rocks pop out here. And let's push on some of our highlights with the knife. Remember, we have just the paint meeting paint. There we go. Come out this way. Really just pull in those highlights. A little more, a little lighter. Some more sand. And we've got some highlights coming down in here for a few of these. Some slopes going across. Some movement. Let's pick up some shadow color. Pull it down from this other side. Nice. Okay. Now, I want to take this dark mountain mixture color and we're going to put in a bridge up here. And I think it's going to be kind of like it's on the back side of this mountain over here. And you got to walk around the back. Actually, I just saw this. We need to put in a shadow right here. All right, next. Black, mountain mixture, dark, whatever it is. Get some of that. And let's just do it. We're doing it. There it is. Oh my gosh. That is a scary looking bridge. Highlight it right on the top. I've got a little gray mixture. Okay, now let's take some more paint in vertical. We'll put in some posts. Some over here. This is a nice wooden bridge, I guess. I'm just pulling up the paint on my palette knife as straight as I can. I mean, they're probably not all going to be straight anyway, given that it's a bridge and it probably moves all about. Now let's connect some of these. We've got some in the front and some in the back. I'll add a couple more just for interest. And we're going to put bars across. One more. And then we're gonna highlight some of these. Let's find some highlight color. Not too much, just a little bit on these ones right out here in the front. Nice. I need a little bit connecting it here. There we go. Okay, now let's grab some yellow ochre into our highlight color. I need to get some more titanium white here. I keep running out. Go. And we're gonna mix up a nice little path color. We've got some Dyke Brown, titanium white, bright red, little mountain mixture. And we're gonna just put in maybe a path that kind of comes around. It's right over here. And it's just gonna run off over here somewhere. Now we want to line that path with a little bit of shrubbery. So we'll just take our fan brush and just tap in, changing up your colors, making sure that it's thinned down because we've got a lot of paint up here, so we need it all to stick. So you thin your paint, and we're just going to tap in some little grassy areas here around some of the edges of this path. To really kind of push it in there and get it pushed down and back into the scene. A little more color here. Just tapping in some grasses. We'll leave it just like that. Want to grab a little bit more of our highlight color and highlight these trees just a little bit more to help them stand out here. Okay. Next, put in just a few more pine trees over here. Helps you to kind of give the idea of scale. So you can imagine yourself there, or somebody here getting to this path. They're heading down, trying to beat the storm. And they see the bridge and they go, wow, we're almost there. The scale, it's bigger than you think. When you get up to it, it's longer, maybe a little scarier than you thought. but you know you're close. I'm getting down. Highlight. Now we'll just pick out a few more rocks on the front side of those trees we just put in and clean up some areas in here where we need a little bit more interest. Now I'm just taking some of that path color and putting it in between some of these grassy areas that we just put in, just to highlight them a little bit more and grab a little bit more interest. Cut down these a little more. Okay, now I'm going to take my fan brush with that light green color and just tap in on the tops of a couple of these, just a little bit of that lighter green color. That's it. We'll just tap them out, kind of blend it nice and soft. Blend some of these grass areas. Okay. Now I'm going to just work out this little bit right by the bridge. I think there needs to be some more rocks supporting it right in the front there. Add a little bit of shadow, color. And grab a tiny bit of that highlight and pull it over. Wipe your knife off. There we go. Just like that. Now we'll put in just one more little peak over here. Shadow color. Go. All right, now I'm gonna put in Okay, just gonna add in a couple more highlights here, grabbing some Indian yellow, yellow ochre, titanium or liquid white. Want like a golden color here. I'm just gonna punch in a few extra kind of sunshiny colors here. Okay, I think we're done. I'm going to take my script liner, wherever I put that, here it is. Thin down our paint, grabbing my bright red, that's the color that I sign in. You can sign in whatever color that you want, you decide. Just thin it down, nice and thin. Put that over here. And we'll pick a spot. I'm gonna go over here today and sign it. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for another tutorial in my studio. My name's Kaylee. I'm a self-taught wet-on-wet oil painter. And today we just went through step-by-step how to paint this oil painting. If you like what we did today, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel to make sure you'll be alerted for my next video, and check out my website, KayleeRakowski.com, to get your custom t-shirt or to purchase this original painting. I hope you all have a really great rest of the day wherever you are, and smile and be happy, friends.